Trevor, thanks for doing this. You're the product of Kelso, Washington.
Yes, sir.
Population 12,000.
Yes.
What was it like to grow up there, which is actually in Washington, but kind of on the Washington-Oregon border?
It was great. Kelso is actually part of two cities, basically touching each other. Longview is where I was born, it says on the roster, and that's 48,000. So there's 60,000 people in the
Deceiving.
area.
Okay.
Deceiving, yeah. It's and they're pretty much just smashed together. But yeah, people from Kelso are from Kelso, people from Longview. We're very clear about that. But yeah, generally small town atmosphere. You know, we had one high school, one little league. You know, you had one option if you wanted to play sports or whatever, but you also get a lot of pride associated with that. And you know, it's growing up in the '90s and just no one had their doors locked, and it was just, you know, me. I just pretty much walked everywhere. I lived near everything, and you know, there was always space to go play and do stuff. So
Sounds ideal.
Yeah, I really loved it.
You considered University of Washington. You also had said Stanford was at one point a dream school for you, but baseball called and you didn't go to either one of those.
Yep. Washington, actually, a lot of it was being closer to home.
Sure.
And, they had a good program there, and I really enjoyed the coaching staff and the guys that recruited me as well. And a bunch of my friends were going there for academics, so
yeah,
it made a lot of sense. But yeah, Stanford, I fell in love with Stanford when I was a kid, just kind of touring the West Coast. We just went on a road trip with my parents once, and we saw the campus. I was like, and that, I think this was like 99 or 2000. I think they either had just won the College World Series or were about to. They were very good. And that helped too, because I was really into baseball. But and it was just great academic school, and they had really good, you know, tech paths. I'm just a kind of a nerd, so all those things kind of went together.
Well, architecture was what I understand you were interested in pursuing at that point, but you were also valedictorian of your high school class, graduating 2008 Kelso High. And so the valedictorian, and I'm not saying this cruel, but didn't even go to college.
Yeah.
But you obviously...
That's a joke that I make a lot, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if that was safe to say that, but that's kind of a weird thing. Do you think you'll ever go back to school or finish that off, or time will tell? Or?
I don't know. I've become a little bit cynical for organized school at this point. It's part being older and, you know, maybe craving a little more freedom over my life at that point. So I think that
you've done okay for yourself.
Yeah,
since
I think
then.
that I pursued the things that I'm into in an academic way in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
So I did go back to school for one. I have 1 quarter of college under my belt at Bellevue College, and after that I was like, I think I'm good.
You've got a real life education going on here. You obviously use your voice very well. You speak very well. You're doing great here in this so far. You do a lot of podcasts, but have you always been so well spoken? Was there a maturation process? Were you always like this as a kid?
No, I definitely wasn't. I'd mumble actually a lot. I had a very low voice when I hit my growth spurt when I was a sophomore in high school. It was like it went from kind of high to really low, really fast, and I was, I think, a little bit shy or had a little bit of social anxiety. So breaking ice wasn't super easy for me. So I just had to be like, whoa. But you know, as an adult, I got more comfortable speaking to people, and I'm kind of a performer at heart. I think that in an alternate universe, I would be a theater kid, probably trying to go that route, and I like performing in front of people and doing things. So. And I have a lot to share.
Isn't that kind of what you do now?
Yeah, I mean, technically that's performing.
No speaking roles, but yeah.
Every single thing I do is performing. So I like to entertain, but I also like to try to explain things in a way that people can understand as well. So it kind of all just lines up.
Into 2012, now you're drafted by the Phillies. You're in their organization. Into 2012, you're their top prospect in the organization. By the end of that same calendar year, you're traded to Minnesota. I've always seen this with pro athletes. The first time they get moved in a pro situation, it's kind of a weird dynamic, right? A little chip on the shoulder. I can't believe they selected me, then they sent me off, but another team wanted you. How was going through that very first transaction?
It's definitely bittersweet. It happened in the middle of the off season too. So I just woke up to one of my roommates at the time, knocked on the door and said, "Hey, like it was on Twitter. Of course it was, even in 2012.
Even back then, yeah.
And before anyone called me.
So that's how you found out?
That's how I found out, via Twitter in 2012. And it's only gotten worse since then. So, but it was bittersweet. It was one of those years where I kind of had a little bit of a disappointing year by my own standards. I knew that it was probably pretty disappointing for the powers that be as well. And I dodged about 5 or 6 trades at that point. The GM for the Phillies at the time, Ruben Amaro, had a reputation for trading prospects for big league talent. And pretty much all my teammates had been traded up to that point had gotten to close to the big leagues, so they were kind of part of the immediate plan, and I was just in limbo. So it didn't surprise me very much. But you then flip it and you say, but a team wants you.
Right.
And there's opportunity there, and they maybe run their team a little bit differently, giving young guys more opportunities. They're looking to fill their staff up with young talent and change the way that they kind of go about things. And I saw that as something that was happening in Minnesota. So it went quickly from, man, I'm going to miss everybody, to I'm excited to kind of maybe get a clean slate and not have the last year on my resume.
From Philly to the Twins to the Mets, is it safe to say that you learn something at every stop, or you become something a little bit better with every stop that you've made?
Oh, 100%. Very different places, those three. Though the Phillies and the Mets are or maybe just the whole atmosphere, from fan bases to the stadium and everything, they're a lot more alike than I think they would like to admit. But and then Minnesota's even much different than them. And yeah, you learn a ton about kind of why you play the game, the parts that you like the most, and you kind of grow into being comfortable with being able to go wherever you're needed and do the job that you're needed to do in any given day. And even each team, how it's put together and how its philosophy and how to win games is different. So
you feel that.
You feel that.
Yeah.
Oh, you feel it in a big way, especially as a relief pitcher. You're affected by those things in a big way usually.
Well, you say relief pitcher, and that's what you are now, but you came into baseball and professional baseball starting games as a person who's done both, because not everybody out there has at the big league level. What is the difference in challenge? Because some people would say it's hard on a starter. They got to go 5 or 6 or more. A reliever may only be asked to get 3 outs a couple days a week. So I'm not saying one's easier than the other, but how are they different from actual perspective?
Well, yeah, it depends on a lot of I think there's 2 sides to every coin when you're talking about those things. Like, as a starter, if I struggled, waiting for 4 more days to pitch was just was miserable.
Right.
And you kind of have to sit with it and find a way to get better. And I'm, impatience runs a little bit in my family.
A little sulking.
I like to go. I like to go and solve the problem in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And so I gravitated towards liking relieving a little bit more. I don't think it's any secret that the pay is better as a starter, and the value to the team generally is a little bit higher because of the number of innings you throw and how hard it is to stay healthy for a whole year and do that. But the big thing for me is the big difference for me was saving energy versus just letting it all go.
Yeah.
And you have a little bit more room for error as a starter, and there's a lot less for relievers. So there's a place you have to go if you want to actually throw in spots that are big moments or leverage or important to getting the win and holding the lead. There's a certain mentality that you have to take that is unlike any other position on the field. So I just loved that. I don't know. It was just so fun and exciting for the stakes to be so high every time you pitch.